Welcome to my first recap of Miss Eco International. I'm Dani. Thank you for joining me today. This episode came in highly requested because the Philippines won, so I kind of expected to get requests for this one. I hope that you enjoyed this episode enough to subscribe and share the channel with a friend. I greatly appreciate that. Of course, you can always support the channel through memberships or by hitting that super thanks button, and that goes a long way. I watched this pageant in a couple parts because I was watching clips of it during the events of Miss Universe Philippines, so that's why it got pushed till after the recap of Miss Universe Philippines. In the beginning, I was watching these clips in a coffee shop and I noticed it was really difficult to listen to the musicians at the beginning of the show. That may have just been because I was in a coffee shop. I don't know. Let me know what you thought about the audio. I felt like the audio could have been improved. There were a couple of issues with the mics throughout the show as well. Next in the show, the ladies came out in their national costumes. Now, I don't want to focus too much on this because I'm not even sure that it really plays into the score, but I did want to check out Alexi's national costume, and this was stunning. I feel like the Philippines has some of the most incredible national costumes because there's so much support of pageantry in the Philippines. So the ladies there are very, very fortunate. This national costume was no exception. There was so much intricate detail on it. It was just incredible. Definitely one of the best national costumes, I would say, at this competition. I was also very surprised to see how much they made them dance with that chair opening number. I'm a dancer, so I love those types of things, but I have seen a lot of pageants where we have non-dancers in these opening numbers, and it's really difficult. I feel like asking non-dancers to do crazy opening numbers, it doesn't help your show. It doesn't help the production value. So I'm actually not a huge fan of that unless you actually have dancers in your show. I would rather actually hire professional dancers and have them accompany contestants. I like that as an option. I also wasn't a fan of the outfits that they wore here. It looks like the outfits would be really easy to put together though. Sequins top, black shorts. That's an easy ask for contestants if they have to provide those outfits for themselves. But I think I would have preferred, even if they told them something as simple as bring a black cocktail dress. Then we went from our opening number to entertainment. There was a tap dancer, and I don't think I've ever seen a tap dancer at a pageant before, and then a singer. So I was a little bit confused by all of that, and then I realized, wait, there's no swim competition, which really surprised me. This is my first time recapping this though, and I didn't watch preliminaries, but I was surprised not to see swim. I will say though that an upside of not having swim is usually that we're going to see more contestants in gown, and we did. Our top 21 appeared in gown, so I'm going to share with you my standout performances and overall thoughts. Indonesia. So I thought she was stunning, but I was not a fan of the gown. The details on it were a bit distracting for me. It really surprised me to see her in this evening gown. Indonesia is a very competitive country and they send a lot of great representatives internationally. And let's not forget that this year's Putri Indonesia, that their 3 title holders won 2 international titles. So Indonesia won Cosmo, Supranational, and then their other title holder went home with a top 10 placement at Charm. Incredible. So I did have high expectations for Indonesia's gown. Now, even if the gown really wasn't there for me, I still liked her. I liked her in the performance. Thailand, gorgeous face, beautiful contestant here. I would have preferred different styling for this gown. I thought that the arm pieces were not necessary, but she was very confident throughout. She had a wonderful ending pose and an over-the-shoulder look, so this still would have been scoring well with me. Philippines, on the other hand, did have some arm pieces, but you could tell that she was well practiced, well rehearsed, and I didn't feel like the use of the arm pieces in her gown routine were distracting. I felt like they were just like an added little bonus that was happening. This was an incredible evening gown on her. Absolutely gorgeous, but I will say even when she was competing at Miss Universe Philippines, she always had stunning wardrobe, so not a surprise to me here. Venezuela, always beautiful, right? Lovely evening gown, but I will say I was very surprised that in the beginning, and maybe it was the camera angles I was seeing, that she was looking down a lot, so I feel like that would have affected her score. I also didn't love this hairstyle for her. I think a different hairstyle would have better complemented this evening gown, but regardless, she's still Venezuela. She still did an excellent job, and I would definitely be advancing her. Costa Rica in green. So green makes a lot of sense for eco pageants, but I did not feel like this was the best shade of green for her. So I would have preferred to see her in something else. I also think that this performance could have been enhanced with a little bit more of a smile. USA, wow, okay, USA, love this. Honestly, I didn't even know that we had a rep for the pageant this year, so excited to see her. The yellow was beautiful on her. It looked wonderful with her hair, beautiful gown choice, wonderful gown reveal, all of it was there. The yellow looked amazing on her. Great gown reveal. The color of yellow with her hair was especially complimentary. This was a good performance, I would say. I just would have liked a bit more of a smile. Brazil, I absolutely loved her gown. I felt like she wasn't bringing the energy that she really needed for finals. Now that could have been nerves, that could be what that is, but I wish we would have saw just a bit more excitement from her. Zimbabwe, really pretty color on her, nice opening. I do feel like she needed a higher back slit, and that would have allowed her to move more easily in this gown. And she also matched the colors of the stage, so that kind of worked for her, but she looked really beautiful. Nigeria, I think, looked lovely in the colors that she was wearing, but I do feel like the flowers were quite distracting. And I'll say the color combination of the browns and the blues really reminded me of something inspired by Zosie's winning Miss Universe gown. UK, wow, the hair, the makeup, the face, all of it. Beautiful gown on her. I love the fur stole. I do think that the skirt was a little bit loose on her. It could have been better fitted, but either way, definitely somebody that I would have been advancing. She was confident in this. I really liked her. Now, this is interesting. The top 11, they said that they were given 1 minute to speak, but whenever I looked at the timer on the wall, it looked like their timer was starting at 40 seconds and not a minute. So I feel like that may have thrown some contestants off, but I'm going to share with you some of my favorite answers for this. I think that I had more than a possible top 5. For me, there wasn't a clear top 5 based on these answers. For this segment, each of them was given a phrase and they just got to respond to it, so it wasn't a question. Thailand's phrase was balancing dreams and responsibilities. I like this one. The beginning of her answer was cut off a little bit though because the microphone was having trouble, so I missed the beginning. But I did catch that she shared that her responsibility is to represent Thailand, and if you know your dreams will come true or whether or not they will come true, you should be doing your best. So overall, I feel like she was trying to deliver this inspiring message, which I think is always something that's appreciated in pageantry. I just couldn't hear the full part of it. Ukraine's statement was respecting nature in a fast-moving world. And she says it's important to stay human and keep up with fast changes. We need to work on sustainability. It's a lifestyle. This is the best way of talking about these issues that we have. So this, obviously, it's an eco pageant. There are going to be questions about sustainability and climate change. And I feel like it's so important, though, and what kind of can send you over the top in terms of your answers for these questions is being able to offer intelligent solutions or being able to share about the work that you've already done for these causes. Philippines, her statement was fashion that cares for the future. She talked about us needing to understand that fashion is also about thinking about the environment. We need to stay sustainable, especially in fashion. That was kind of like her final phrase. I will say I would have loved to hear more about her take on sustainability in fashion and what she's doing to make more sustainable choices for that. I think that could have even made the answer stronger. But I think what really helped her here and advanced her here is that she spoke with so much confidence and clarity. It was such an attractive answer in the way that she presented it that I feel like that really easily moved her on to the next round. Indonesia's was leading with kindness in a competitive world. I like that. And she says at Miss Eco, we're leading by example, especially in ways of sustainability. Then she made mention of combining her goals with sustainability. So I thought that this was a really smart way to go about this question, because I think you can argue that sustainability is compassionate. It's compassionate for future generations, for everybody that lives here, for every living being on this earth. And so I thought that was a very smart answer. USA's statement was our responsibility to future generations. And she says, if not now, then when? So that's Arbany's whole saying. And it was interesting, though, this was more specifically applied to sustainability versus Arbany's messaging, I feel like, is applied to dreams. Then she went on to share about her platform being climate change. And I feel like she sounded good in this answer. For me, it sounded a bit rehearsed because of the way that it was delivered. So instead of speaking with fluidity, as many of us do in our quick conversation, she was really breaking apart the sentences. She was pausing a lot in places that don't need a pause in normal day-to-day conversation. Canada. Her statement was why nature needs our voices. And she says, Mother Earth cannot speak for itself. Our planet is telling us that we need to make a change. It takes one person to make a change. Use your voice for our Mother Earth. I think that this answer was on par with a lot of other ones. I think what it just came down to is who the judges were envisioning in that top 5. Venezuela, I like this one. The queen beyond the crown. And she says, a queen is more than a crown. I always say that every child in my country wants to be a queen, but we have to learn to empower ourselves to work together in education. And that is the best way to be a queen. So I thought this was great. It sounded like it was very on brand for her personally and the advocacy that matters to her. So I thought that was beautiful. UK's statement was more than a stage, representing values. She talked about how this topic makes her feel inspired, and she made mention of serving a purpose beyond glitz and glam in pageantry. And she says, as an agent for change, I hope we can together use our platform to promote sustainability for our present generation and future generations to come. And that was just really well said. Beautiful. For our top 5, we had Ukraine, Indonesia, UK, Philippines, and USA. Let's chat about each of their answers. Ukraine was asked, what does beauty mean to you beyond appearance? And she says, to begin with, it's inside. It lies in understanding each other, building mutual trust. When we respect each other, something beautiful is created. So let me say this about Ukraine's inclusion into the top 5. She actually really surprised me. I didn't have her on my list for gown, and then she kept advancing. But my note for her for gown back then was that she was just so beautiful. So I feel like her face card really brought her through this competition, because I don't feel like when we were making those cuts that she necessarily had the strongest answers out of the group, but she is very stunning. Indonesia, she had a new gown. Loved this for her. I was like, yes. So her question was, how can we make sure we stay proud of our cultures while accepting others from different backgrounds? And she talked about how she has a lot of culture being Indonesian, and then she made reference to the environment. She said, we love being a part of the solution and not for the problem. So I feel like her messaging was a little bit of a mixture of the appreciation of culture versus focusing on an eco advocacy. UK, they asked her, if you could start one project in your country, what would it be and why? And she says, to educate others about the environment. As a resilient member of our eco community, we must preserve the environment. And then she got cut off. So I feel like it was kind of like the end of the road at that point for her. Then the Philippines, they said, imagine the world in 2050. What's one thing that you hope has changed and why? And she says, climate change is impacting us. The only thing we can do is act. We have the same mother, even if we came from different nations. We must save our planet and Mother Earth. So well said, so well said. That line of we have the same mother, but we're brothers and sisters from different nations. Brilliant, clever. I don't know if that just came to her or if she had something like that planned, but it was fantastic. USA. How can you use your voice to support young women in your community? And she says, when you're a queen, you have the power. Why not use that voice for change? Social media is a vital part. I'll use social media to create real change. Social media isn't bad if we know how to use it. So I think she answered the question here. They said, how can you use your voice for change to support young women in your community? She said, the way that I'm going to do that is through social media. My question would be like, okay, so social media is the vehicle, but how? What are we doing on social media? Are we creating online campaigns? Are we reaching out one-on-one to contestants? Are you hosting virtual workshops for confidence? I think answers like that can really go a long way. Here are our results. 4th runner-up was UK. 3rd runner-up was USA. 2nd runner-up was Ukraine. I also really wish that they would have changed the lighting and made it more dramatic. Now we're down to our top 2, Indonesia and the Philippines. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, Indonesia was 1st runner-up and the Philippines is the winner of Miss Eco International 2025. Congratulations to all of our contestants. I'm very excited for Alexi. I watched her Miss Universe Philippines journey, and that was exciting to see, and she worked so hard throughout that competition. So it was really exciting to get to see her represent the Philippines internationally and win. Oh my gosh, how many titles are the Philippines gonna take home this year? My goodness, just lots of wins happening. Congratulations though to all of the ladies. Thank you for tuning into this episode, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed it, and please let me know in the comments what you would like to see next.